What's up, everybody? The Court of Cowls is back, and this time we have some really cool stuff going on. We're actually going to be on Twitch this time. We're going to be doing a live show for you, so you get to see all our faces, because, you know, you don't believe us that we're gross comic book nerds. And I don't know who this guy is, but he just kind of walked in off the street. So, but we have a lot to talk about. This one's going to be all about metal. We're getting really, really metal with this because this book, right here, this one just came out and we are really excited about it. So let us get started. My name is Cody.
I'm Mike.
Chris.
I'm Cash. This is my debut appearance.
Yes.
On Court of Cowls.
We had Cash come in all the way swinging in from, you know, some town from New York.
I thought he was from Central City.
Central City, yeah, that might have been it.
Yeah, because it can't be from Bloodhaven. We already got one from Bloodhaven.
Exactly.
Speeding in from Central City.
Yes. There we go.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he heard we were doing this cool thing with metal. I'm going to be doing that all night now. And he wanted to get in on it. So for those who don't know, metal is, we're starting off a new little series for Batman with Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo back in action. They're the guys that created these. These are designs by Greg Capullo. And from what, like Court of Owls, from Endgame, from a lot of different stuff. Their run is kind of what revolutionized and brought a lot of people back into comics. It definitely, that's honestly, Court of Owls is what brought me into DC, period. Court of Owls was the one I read that I was like, man, this is what DC is doing. Why am I reading Marvel? Like, to be completely honest with you.
And so, obviously we enjoy Court of Owls because we, you know, fashioned our name after it.
Yes. So what do you say, guys? Is Court in session? Court is in session.
No, Batman, no. Stand up.
You killed Batman.
I did. So DC Metal. Cody said it was a Batman story, but it is further reaching than Batman. Okay? This is the League. This is a lot of DC stuff. So it's encompassing everything. As of right now, Metal #1 just came out today. Or midnight, depending on if your comic shop was cool enough to do a midnight. But this is not actually the first issue. We've had 2 issues that were lead-ups to this. We had the Forge and we had the Casting. Dark Days, the Forge and the Casting. To kind of whet our appetites and give us a little hint of what is happening. And I can say it's big. Like, if you follow comics, you know that that crisis is not a phrase thrown around lightly in the DC universe, but I think we are on the verge of a new crisis. And for those watching live, there's
the casting.
There's the casting, yeah. And there is.
Thank you, Thing.
Yay! And we got August behind the scenes.
Shh, no, it's Magic Powers.
It's Magic Powers behind
Thing.
the scenes.
I'm doing this with my mind.
There we go.
Very 90s looking, like very Marvel 2099, if you ask me. But in a good way.
Okay, I can respect that. So, all right. So, Cash.
Yes.
Cash here is our comic guy too. So he's a man that knows him some comics. So, what have you thought so far? Your initial impressions of these 3 issues. What do you think?
Well, I thought that, coming from me, I have an unpopular opinion where I actually was not a huge fan of the Greg Capullo, Scott Snyder run on
The dogs did not agree with that. They were unhappy.
But the Forge and the Casting were really good setup issues, and I liked what they did with Joker and how he was hidden away inside the Batcave. Or
yes.
In a bat cave inside of the bat cave. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. So, and I guess we should have said this at the beginning. Spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about all things Casting, Forge, and Metal. So, if you've not read it, don't want to hear about it, then stop listening now, go read them, come back and continue reading. And sorry that our phones are going off.
Say Gotham apparently needs your help right now.
Apparently.
Bloodhaven's nice and taken care of here, but apparently Gotham's
Well, yours is
still
going
set.
off. It's just in the living room. Okay, we can still hear it. Everybody's phone's going off. So we're gonna start with the casting. Okay, that was the first one that came out back in
The Forge. I would
Forge.
say the Forge came out like
I always flip it. So Forge came out in July, correct?
yes.
Well, it's gonna say August because comics have a really weird dating thing on it.
Yeah, it's always like 2 or 3 months after when it actually comes out.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to get real technical, it's kind of there was hints of Forge and casting in the original like Scott Snyder books, like all the way back to the Court of Owls, is what they're saying.
Yes. Well, things that happened back then are now being referenced, and we're kind of learning that a lot of this stuff is connected, and it's all leading to something real big. So at the time, these things we didn't know that they had any significance past just what their story was. We're finding out now things that we thought was just, oh, it's just comics, and this thing is just comic related. It was obviously much more. So, but so Forge kind of starts with a journal, kind of narrating the issue, and this journal is written by Carter Hall, who you may know as Hawkman, and we haven't really seen him in Rebirth, to my knowledge. Cash, if I'm mistaken, please correct me.
I don't think so. There was that mini-series Death of Hawkman, but I didn't actually read that because I don't care for Hawkman that much. Like most people, unfortunately. So I don't know if that counts towards the Rebirth stuff, though.
My favorite Hawkman was Savage Hawkman was, just a big monster, basically. Like, just the archaeologist part of it never really interested me, but like him just being this like
Big Olympic
bruiser,
yeah,
Wolverine with wings instead of claws is kind of how I always saw him, like at his coolest. Like I'll always remember back in New 52 Justice League #1 when Amanda Waller puts together her team, you got Vibe sitting there, and like Hawkman comes and sits down, he's just covered in blood. And he's like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "It's not my blood." And like you just see like Vibe pick up his chair and just scoot away. I was like, "That's the Hawkman I like." That's not the one we're getting here, and I'm actually pretty okay with that. We're very obviously getting a detective. I mean, really, is who it is. We're getting a detective Hawkman that is trying to decipher the clues and this mystery that goes back thousands of years that we didn't even know it was a mystery until we start reading this, and then you see that there were little touch points throughout history that were always there. You just didn't know to look for them.
Right.
So some of the big things that happened in Forge, the Blackhawks, which had shown up previously in All-Star Batman, and who ended up being in charge of them, which I'll get to shortly. The Immortal Man, which is kind of cool. Led with Immortal Man, who is a pretty interesting 90s hero, I guess you could say. Kind of talking about Duke Thomas, who is Batman's newest...
Not Robin.
Yeah, his newest companion, his newest employee, sidekick, whatever you want to call him.
New part of the Bat family.
Yeah, newest member of the Bat family.
But doesn't really have his own namesake yet.
Yeah.
That will come later.
I would say, that...
He's got a lot of yellow.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting. Yellow. But his mother, Elaine Thomas, it seems like there's something important there. Immortal Man is talking about how he's been watching her since Joker actually gassed both of Duke's parents back in Endgame, and very Harry Potter with Neville's parents. They're just raving lunatics now. They're just Joker-fied basically, and they're very concerned that something that she knows Batman's going to find out, and they don't want that to happen. So I'm very curious as to what part she plays in it, who she is past just Duke's mom.
Yeah.
What's happening there? So, other big things. Mr. Terrific finally returned. This was his first appearance in Rebirth, and really kind of his first appearance in New 52, because in New 52 he was on Earth 2 for the most part.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a cool callback because Bruce is like, what did you find on the other Earth? So he has been to a parallel Earth. Is it Earth 2? Is it Earth 15? We don't know where he's been, but clearly whatever it is, Batman is trying to get a better understanding of what's happening on multiple Earths, which obviously, precludes that it has something to do with the multiverse. So perhaps the dark multiverse.
Well, Mr. Terrific did come up in another recent DC event that saw Terry McGinnis get killed for
Future's End.
Future's End.
That was Future's End.
Yeah,
so.
that's I couldn't think of the name of it. Thank you. But yeah, in Future's End, and he played a huge part in it. I bought that book thinking it was a Batman Beyond book. It was more or less just a grifter Mr. Terrific book.
Yeah.
And that's where I learned a lot about Mr. Terrific and how he's like an extremely intelligent man. He knows how to jump between universes and
8th smartest man in the world.
Yeah.
At least he used to be. Maybe he's smarter than that now, or maybe higher, maybe lower. I don't know. I just remember he used to be the 8th smartest. So while Bruce is talking to Mr. Terrific, they decide that it is time to let him out. And you're not sure who they're talking about till you turn the page and find Plastic Man, a nice Plastic Man shaped egg.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's Plastic Man. And you guys tell me what you think. I think Plastic Man is holding somebody. And
that's kind of how I took it.
Yeah. The reason I say that is, why would you basically just turn Plastic Man into an egg and just put him somewhere? I think he's containing somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering who that could be.
I didn't know what it was at first, but I saw the color scheme was familiar, and I was like, that looks a lot like Plastic Man.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that at first. I had to read through it again, and then I realized...
Yeah, I didn't catch it the first time. Like, he was there, and it was just kind of...
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I saw Plastic Man or anything like that, except for in the cartoon or something like that, or Elongated Man or whatever, and it was just completely
different.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like,
The last
I can't
time-
remember who it was, but it's been quite a while. So it was after I read it, and then you read it, and you're like, "Oh shit!" And I was like, "Oh god."
Yeah,
I
That's
think
a thing.
it's cool because Plastic Man, like, I don't know if he actually appeared, or he did appear. It was in Forever Evil.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the criminal Eel O'Brien or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he got knocked, like, what exactly happened? I just know he appeared in that, and then they never followed up on it. Like, didn't he get, like, knocked, like, into the accident that caused him to get the powers?
Yeah,
or
because
something?
he was a henchman for Riddler or Joker or somebody, and he just got knocked into some chemicals or something. I'm pretty sure that's how it happened. And leave us a comment below if we were mistaken on there. Tell us what really happened, because that's going off memories of a story I've only read once. But yeah, maybe I'm being too logical with the comic book, but I think if it was Plastic Man that was being held, that he would be in some sort of containment unit. I don't think Bruce would have been like forming him into a giant egg and sticking him in a room. I feel like he's housing somebody. And if it is Plastic Man, that's cool. Plastic Man is somebody from my childhood that I remember, like the Plastic Man Comedy Hour or whatever it was, the cartoon way back in the day.
God, you're old.
Do what I can.
I was gonna say I know exactly what you're talking about. So.
Thank you. We'll be old together. But my fondest memory of him is Dark Knight Strikes Again, where Bruce is like he's the most dangerous person on the planet.
Yeah.
He can become anything, and he's insane. And I never thought of Plastic Man that way. I always thought of him as just this goofy character. But if you think about it, he can be anything he wants.
Yeah.
The only thing stopping him from just wrecking shop is his morals, and he's not the most like well together guy. So what's to stop him from just being the Joker, but can turn into like a giant saw blade or something. So anyways, I'm curious to see if it's Plastic Man. If not, who is who is contained within. So,
Well, my fondest memory is from Identity Crisis. Because that was awesome. Like, his whole thing.
I think you're thinking of Elongated Man, buddy.
I'm sorry.
Basically the same power set. Almost.
Yeah, same power set. I get them confused. It's very easy. Elongated Man.
Plastic Man.
Yeah.
They're very similar, but Elongated Man couldn't turn into stuff. He could just stretch his body.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Big difference. But very similar power set, yeah.
Man, what a big help we are. We're like, remember this time when...
No, that's like I'm pretty sure it was Elongated Man, but out of the cartoon, the Justice League Unlimited,
Yeah,
that
it was Elongated
okay.
Man.
That's okay. I couldn't I was pretty sure it was him, but I'd
Yeah.
10% chance that could have been Plastic Man. But
It was elongated, and it was he was voiced by the guy
Jeremy Reiner or whatever.
Jeremy Piven.
Yeah,
Jeremy Piven. So, and I actually believe maybe it was him in Plastic Man that played like Rock'em Sock'em Robots or something at the end of it. I don't remember if it was Plastic Man or somebody else, but I remember him playing it.
Yeah.
I remember him
Anyways.
talking about him though, because like Elongated Man was like Team D or whatever with Booster
Yeah.
Gold, and then it was like, oh, like I need to be as cool as him and everything. But
Yeah. So, Batman, Mr. Terrific, Plastic Man Egg. While this is going on, Hal Jordan has been sent to Earth to investigate these weird power readings that, again, that's like, hey, taking off active duty, go find out what's going on. And Hal's like, this is not good because this is, I know
Earth.
exactly where this is.
Yeah.
And he goes there, breaks into the Batcave, and obviously Bruce isn't there, but Duke is. They kind of tussle for a little bit. Hal gets the better of him. And Hal finds that there's actually a secret Batcave inside the Batcave. So it's, Batcave.
Batcave within a Batcave.
Yeah.
it would only be Batman that there would be another cave inside of a cave.
Yeah.
Although in Arkham Asylum, the game, and I'm sure it's been in other books as well, he had another base under there just to keep extra tabs to be
Oh, yeah.
extra
I
prepared. So
Batman-
I shouldn't be too surprised, but at the same time, it was just like, a Batcave in a Batcave.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Batman has bases everywhere. He has one on the moon in the current comic book.
Yeah, he does.
So,
That was actually pretty cool when Superman and Lois and Jonathan went there. Yeah. So
I think you're thinking Elongated Man.
I
I'll
think
just
I
leave
am.
you alone.
he's got the moon base.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. With his elongated car and his elongated rings.
So yeah, he goes in there with Duke.
Yeah, they go in there and somebody's talking, telling him, hey, it's time you figure out what's going on, blah blah blah, just being real coy, and the whole while Hal's ring is just going crazy, like it's short circuiting, it's getting hot, like it's just something is not right with it. And as they're going through the secret cave, they're finding a bunch of different artifacts, and the voice is talking about how this all started with a tooth that they claimed could bring the dead back to life. And there's no alloy that could do that, no gold, no silver that could do that. Electrium was what it was called, which was Court of Cowls, like it was Court of Owls, always and forever. I'm gonna do that, but because and obviously there were other members that had it, but when Bruce punches Dick, knocks his tooth out, he's like, you had this in your tooth this whole time. You were earmarked for it. So that metal was what the court used to bring back the talons and stuff. So that's kind of that. They kind of made it seem like that is where Bruce got his first inkling that something wasn't right, and had started pulling from there. But they talk about the voice is saying how it has very similar energies to other things, and you see Dr. Fate's helmet, you see what looked to be Wonder Woman's gauntlets, Aquaman's trident, you see all these different things that they are implying, whatever they're made of, be
All
it
the mystical weapons
Yeah.
used.
or somehow all tied together.
Yeah.
While this is going on, you see that Batman has had other teams covertly searching for answers to this, and you realize that another thing that's been reintroduced in Rebirth is the Outsiders, which I think was very cool. Outsiders was a team that Batman created back in the 70s, 80s. It was just like his like kind of Black Ops team. In the picture they showed, it had Metamorpho, which is really cool. Halo, Geoforce, and Black Lightning. And it shows that they've been pulled together and they're out there searching as well for whatever it is that Batman's looking for. The only other thing is the Dionysium, however you pronounce it. I apologize if I'm
It's
butchering
DiGiorno, Chris. Come on.
DiGiorno, yeah. It's not delivery. It's a DiGiorno. Which is the green liquid metal from Endgame, which is cool because it goes all the way back to Endgame, which has been over a year ago now. Where it basically think Lazarus Pit, but more like
Less repercussions.
I guess.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of the best way to put it. And I'm pretty sure they even tried to tie it in that it had something to do with Lazarus Pit.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to swear up and down by that.
Well, it does kind of tie in because they through the whole while they're doing. Hawkman is doing his journal entries, and there was something. I'm sure we'll get to it in the casting that.
There is.
Yeah.
It's top of my list of notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just like, oh wow, it does tie in with the Lazarus Pits.
Yeah. So, yeah. So it shows. I don't know if it tells you. No, I guess it was in the casting. Yeah, I don't think at the end of Forge it showed you who they were talking to, does it?
At the end of Forge,
sure,
it does.
That was like the last page.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
that
where
was
he
the very last page.
he popped out.
Well, regardless, it turns out
it
that
gave identity to the voice,
yes.
and we're not going to say it, right?
Oh, we are. No, I mean,
we are.
It's the Joker.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, everything's ruined for me now. See you guys later.
We said spoiler alert at the beginning, so you find out that Batman has had the Joker locked up, and we don't really know for how long.
So at some point he has locked up the Joker.
Yeah.
After everything that's been going on, after Endgame, at some point he incapacitated Joker and locked him inside the Batcave, which is something that is very, very not okay.
Yeah, and
breaks a lot of Justice League bylaws,
yeah,
as he puts it.
And Hal's like,
As Hal puts it.
That's no bueno. But the thing is, there were three Jokers. That was one of the big
I would say
reveals
that was the big
during
thing.
Darkseid War is three Jokers.
Was it the Dark Side War or was it the beginning of the Rebirth, the special?
No, it was Darkseid War because when Bruce got the Mobius chair,
He asked who
That's
the
right. He
who
asked
the
the Joker
Joker
was, and
and
okay,
it was
yeah.
like, there are three Jokers. So, but with the story that the Joker's telling, this is the same Joker that was involved in Endgame, which is the same Joker that cut off his face at the beginning of New 52.
Gross.
Yeah, because he talks about that. How
Yeah, he talks about it.
How
he chopped off his face and then tried to kill the family.
Yeah.
And then when he fell in the pit,
he thought he was dead.
Yeah, but it
found
healed
this
him.
green stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which was death in the family, and then, or death of the family, and then that led into Endgame, where he had this, and him and Bruce died, but it brought them back. So I assume that after Endgame, that Bruce just had Joker, because they're clearly both down there together. We thought they were dead, so I assume that he got him from there, and that's why he's had him ever since.
And when did they both die?
At the end of Endgame.
Oh, is that what he's talking about? Okay. Because I remember them both being like bloodied messes, but I didn't know they actually died.
Basically, Joker had created like the super Joker gas.
Yeah, I read it.
Yeah. And when he went down, Bruce went down to get the DiGiorno or whatever.
Yeah.
And Joker was down there, and they fought, and eventually, like, it just caved in. They both died. So
They both came back, though, and their minds were wiped because Joker didn't remember he was Joker.
see, was that Joker though? Was that the same Joker?
I don't know. That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Because and you find out about this in the casting, that Bruce had created what he calls his final invention, final experiment. How did he? Yeah, his final invention, which is the machine that basically will like it's Grant Morrison, so it's really weird. But it will turn somebody into Batman, or it will go get another Batman from time. So there's always a Batman in Gotham, and he says that he used that to reconstitute himself, but because he still had like fragments of the green liquid metal like in his skull, that showed him all these visions of him dying, like 100 deaths and just all kinds of craziness. So I don't know like how much of him not having his memory was a side effect of the resurrection, or if it was a like psychosomatic, he didn't want to remember because he thought this was the way that he could, that he could kind of stop being Batman.
Start over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew it had to have something to do with Morrison because it felt real. Like as I was reading the casting, I kept thinking of Rock of Ages. Like it reminded me a lot of Rock of Ages.
Yeah.
Just the way it was written and how it went. And
that's Grant Morrison for you. So casting, it starts off. You get the Immortals, and you see the vampire from I Vampire, which is kind of cool, talking to Ra's al Ghul. Because they're part of the Immortals. Then you've got Batman looking for something, and he's fighting this crazy lion fire monster thing, and Wonder Woman shows up, and she's like, "Hey, he's protected by me. Be cool." And all you had to do was ask, and he would have not tried to kill you. So Batman's
be my friend.
Yeah, like, be my friend. Please don't kill me. So he's trying to. Looking for something. Long story short, he gets the Sunblade, which is one of 12 weapons created for the gods. This is actually the 8th one, which is important, I do believe. It's a cool fire sword. So Wonder Woman gives it to him. Tells him, "Be careful what you're looking for. The gods have abandoned us because they know there's a great war coming, and they don't want to be part of it." So, kind of leaves you with a little ominous foreshadowing there, I do believe. More Joker talking about the liquid green metal, and he said something I think is going to be really important. I don't know if you guys caught this, but he says, "I know how this story ends because it's all happened before."
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, what do you guys think he meant by that?
I thought he was referring to basically everything that was going on in Hawkman's journal.
Okay.
So.
Cash, what do you think?
It was Hawkman that said this?
No, it was Joker.
No, it
that
was
said
Joker
that.
that said
Yeah.
it.
I have no idea, honestly.
Okay.
There was a scene at the end of the casting that made me think that what they're kind of leading up to is this whole factioning of birds, of the bear tribe, the bird tribe,
The
and
wolf
then
tribe.
the wolf tribe, and
The
then
bat's the
another
evil
tribe.
one, yeah.
And the bat was the evil one. And what I think it's going to turn out to be is that the jester was the one that saves us all, and the bat is the one that damns us all.
Interesting. Well, I mean, Joker says, I was trying to be the good guy this time. Like, because basically Duke is, how does Joker put it? You're what's going to allow him to see in the dark. So if I kill you, then he can't look where he shouldn't be looking, and I can stop all of this from happening.
Well, and they did this whole thing with Duke where they were talking, where Joker was telling him about how certain kids are born they don't have iron in their blood.
Well, they're flagged with a metal toxicity that they cannot.
Yeah.
It's not iron. It's not mercury. They don't know what it is, but it's some.
But the initials is META.
Yeah.
Meta.
So they can only fit 4 characters. So meta was what it was, which is, I mean, that just ties everything back. I mean, forever, DC can't call them mutants. But meta is what metahumans is basically when you have superpowers. So I think that's kind of cool. I mean, we're tying everything together. Meta.
And they do the whole thing where he's basically telling Duke that Duke is the first of a new race that's going to fight in this great war, but we don't know what war.
Yeah.
And Wonder Woman calls it, at one point she refers to it as the true war. So I'm really anxious to see what they're talking about.
Yeah. So while this is going on, Batman, basically like Joker, Hal, and Duke are in the Batcave, and they're having this whole conversation. While this is going on, it's cutting to scenes of Batman searching. You see him. You see them talk about the Challengers of the Unknown. It's another cutback scene, and how the Challengers Mountain just explodes, and like all you hear is screams, and it's just gone.
Yeah.
Which would end up being important in Metal. You see, he goes to some underground place, and he runs into Duplex.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how you pronounce it. Duplex. He works for Cadmus. He's like the psychic Yoda type dude that hung out with Superboy. I just thought that was cool. I was like,
Yeah.
I know who that is. That's cool. And he's saying, hey, stop looking. Basically, everybody's telling Batman, stop looking. You're not gonna like what you find. Just you need to stop. This does not end well for anybody. But it's Batman, and he doesn't stop. He doesn't quit. But then he runs into his beloved, Miss Talia al Ghul, which is interesting. I'll be honest, I haven't really followed her since she had Damien killed, which has been quite a while.
Yeah.
I kind of assumed Batman would still be pissed about that.
Yeah. Might be a little upset.
Yeah, she killed their son. But he seemed to be cordial with her. So friendly, in fact, that they traded. He traded a fire sword for a Shazam dagger, which was the 9th one, by the way.
Yeah.
Which is
because
cool.
the sword was the 8th and the dagger was the 9th.
The 9th.
And there's always the talk. I was saying this before we started of the nth metal.
The nth,
So.
Yeah. So yeah, that's. Joker says there's a dark crisis coming. Joker says I was the good guy.
And of course he says crisis.
Yeah, another thing of crisis. You get Batman talking about his final invention. Basically, he makes it back to the Batcave and is like, what are you guys doing in the cave? And they're like, Joker got free. He's like, what the hell were you doing?
And this leads us into the main issue that we're all gathered here to talk about.
Well, there's 2 things that happened before then.
Yeah, okay.
2 important things.
Then I'll put this
But
down.
metal, Chris. Metal.
Getting there. It all leads up to metal. And I totally skipped over something super important. And I don't even remember where I put it. He goes to the fortress. I'm pretty sure that was at the beginning of casting. Yeah, he goes to the fortress and talks to Superman. He's like, hey, you remember all those years ago when I had you like put a secret room down in the fortress for me? And I said one day I would come and I would open the door and I would have to go in alone and you just have to trust me. And he's like, yeah, I've never looked.
That was in the Forge, wasn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he's like, yeah, but you can't get in it. I've seen that lock. There's nobody that can get in. And who happens to be there?
Mr. Miracle.
Mr. Miracle. Mr. Scott-Free. So he obviously gets him in because, that's what Mr. Miracle does. And you find you basically find Alexander Luthor's machine from Infinite Crisis. The multiverse machine that would allow you to essentially travel the multiverse or find things in the multiverse or whatever. Something that doesn't look the same because in Infinite Crisis it was made out of the Anti-Monitor's dead body. So this one looks different. I don't know if that means it came from somewhere else or if Batman rebuilt it after the fact. That I don't know. So if you know, you should leave a comment down below and tell me because I would like to know.
We've got no comments.
Except for us.
Yep.
Yeah, so last things, Duke kind of like spazzes out and like flashes real bright and like sees a vision of like a machine. He just basically sees like a light outline of this crazy machine.
Well, when he held the sword or the dagger, wasn't it?
I think it's because he was close to it.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't feel good, and just like, wow, flash.
And he could see the finished machine.
Yeah. So he like, it's really cool because Hal like gives him the ring, and he uses the Green Lantern ring to like construct it out. So Bruce takes the Shazam dagger and like goes over there and like puts it in this pillar or something, and sees something he shouldn't see. So basically, like, peeks out into nothingness, and nothingness peeks back. So.
And he sees the abyss, and he comes back and says that, what did you see? And he's like, I saw
I
nothing.
saw nothing. I've
It was
done
just
everything,
blackness.
and I don't see anything. And then it like next thing, it's like 3,000 miles below Gotham, you see these like hooded figures
Bat
with like
creatures.
bat skulls and stuff, and they're like, it's time.
He peeked into nothingness, and we saw him.
Yeah, and they're like, it's now the vessel is awoken, or the vessel is ready, and it's time to meet the real father of the Batman. And then boom, that's where it ends, and kicks directly into
Metal. Okay.
So before we get into that, what do you guys think so far? Anything that I missed? Any theories at this point?
I mean, I think it's all great. I really like how Scott Snyder's version of the Joker is always kind of obsessed with like mythical stuff. Like at first he was just obsessed with being the Joker, and he's kind of like, it's like he figured out more about being the jester to the king. So he in Death of the Family, he like really plays out the king jester relationship and kind of does it all out of love so he could kill the family.
Yeah.
And in Endgame, he tried to convince the world that he was a demon from like way back when.
Yeah, that he's existed forever and he's always been around.
Yeah. So he's really been upset. Like, my version of the Joker has always been just, he doesn't care. Some days he remembers it one day, some days he remembers it a different way. Yeah. But this one is, Scott Snyder's version is really obsessed with identity. And like a very, very large identity at that. Like almost like a mystical fable of a identity. And, so that's really cool. And the fact that he plays a big role, but you don't know who exactly he is. And, I really hope they don't, like, pull a Clone Wars saga and says that the Joker is actually Batman and Batman's actually the Joker or something crazy like that. Yeah. But one thing I wanted to know more about is the Man of Miracles. Not the Man of Mr. Miracle. Yeah, that's two completely different guys. Because Mr. Miracle, again, is Future's End. That's where I knew him best. Is because he kind of, like, helps them all get out.
Yeah.
Because that's what he does.
Mr. Miracle's been around for quite some time. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, he's part of New God, so he's part of that thing. He ran with the Justice League for a little bit before, kind of did his own thing, married to Big Barda, so you kind of always see them together. But real quick, before we get more into that, simple yes or no, no follow-up explanation. Is Joker crazy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Always.
In this scenario, I
mean,
don't think
is he
so.
crazy, but is he stupid?
I'm just saying, is Joker insane?
In every other aspect, yes. In this instant that's going on, I don't think he's insane as everyone thinks he is.
He's onto something, but he's still always crazy.
Yeah, he's still out there, but he's onto something, and
Cameraman, yes or no?
Not paying attention.
Cool. All right. Is Joker crazy?
Say yes.
Oh.
No follow-up, just straight yes or no.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna be the odd man out, and I'm gonna say he's not.
Okay, that's cool. My vote didn't count. That's fine.
Well, you said in everything except for this.
No, yeah, well, okay.
So, all right. I will be
Mine's
the only
maybe.
one.
Mine's maybe. Yours is a no. Then.
Okay. I'll be the only one not skirting the fence or saying yes.
I think he is. I think he's onto something, but even if he is onto something, he's really just going to try and figure out how he can twist this into like a crazy identity for himself. Okay. Like he's trying to figure out that it's like this version, like I said, Scott Snyder's version is obsessed with being more important to the Batman than he really is.
Okay.
So I think he's gonna work this against Batman in the long run.
We'll see. Okay, so quick rapid fire, just the bullet points for Metal, and then we'll kind of go around and get everybody's opinions and see what they thought, and then I'll stop talking because I love to hear myself talk. Metal opens on the Justice League, rocking some pretty awesome looking armor. Which, if you've seen any of the promotional images, you've seen this picture of the League and this kind of medieval looking armor. And it was kind of a swerve because it ended up not being anything important. I mean, it was cool, but it made it seem like this was metal. Like,
Yeah, and that
suit of armor Batman.
it started off there, and there was no explanation on how the League got to that point and everything like that. It was like, hey, we're here, we're fighting stuff, and it was like, oh, I thought that was gonna be relevant to some. I thought we were gonna lead into this, like,
not. We just start with this. It was a cold open, basically.
Yeah.
Like, it just, which was really awesome, and it, basically the armor that they were wearing was all power dampening armor. The S on the Superman armor was the dust of 10,000 crushed red suns, and all these things to
the
hamper
boots
their
were
powers.
like super heavy for Flash or whatever.
They absorbed vibration. The little snake on Wonder Woman's thing was from the Gorgon or something. And,
Yeah.
It was just
The
really
mother
neat.
of Gorgons, and Cyborg couldn't tap into the mechanical nature of the robots they were fighting.
Yeah.
They were on dial up.
Yep. He just 52K modem if it's 6K. So they're fighting for Mongol, who has Warworld. Not the first time we've seen Mongol. He's just a pretty standard Justice League Superman villain. But what was kind of interesting was that he'd taken Toyman prisoner,
Yeah.
and like he was having him like make the things for him. He'd made the armors. He'd done this. And just seeing, and this is something I don't feel like we see very often, so it was kind of cool to see the Justice League work as a team as opposed to just being together. Wonder Woman being like formation,
Angia or something
yeah,
like that.
and like to show that somewhere out there could be a comic that just shows them training together and
Yeah.
like learning to work as a team, which is something I don't feel like we see a lot of, but it's kind of cool to know that exists.
That's always cool because that was always one of my favorite things about Teen Titans is when they'd be like Formation Delta,
Yeah.
and they'd go and do this awesome attack that
The
they
Teen Titans are the best team.
yeah exactly.
I can't argue with you there. Especially when Superboy's on it. Bam. So, long story short of this particular battle, they bring out, Justice League themed Megazords to fight them, and Batman being Batman, because of what they're called, and I'm not going to butcher what it's pronounced, but he's like, just let them take you. Like, just follow my lead. So he just lets the Batman one just like grab him and like suck him in. And there was like basically there was like a little button inside their mouth, and he hits it. So all the League does it, and they form a freaking Justice League Megazord.
Yes, it was so amazing.
Yeah. You know what the best part was? Cyborg said booyah.
Yep.
Little booyah in
Yeah,
the thing
of
there.
course.
And then next thing you see, they're just flying back to Earth. Like, Mongols gone, they're free. This cool promotional art thing was
Nobody
3
laughed
pages
at
long.
Barry's joke that he cracked.
Yeah.
But yeah, one guy actually said it, like, he's like, "Oh man, we are FUC''D."
Yeah. Yeah.
And we were like, okay, we're just gonna throw this right here, like.
Well, that's what the
That was buried because that was one
yeah
of
no
the,
but one of the beast or whatever,
Yeah.
like one of the machines that they were fighting. He cracked that joke.
Yeah. So, you guys can talk for a second. I'm gonna check the weather because the lights are flickering a little bit. So,
Yeah.
little look behind the scenes there, folks.
But yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about it. Like, I thought that we were just gonna jump into them with Mongol, and we were just gonna be here, So I was just kind of like, man, this. I don't like cold opens because I like it. If everything's gonna go somewhere, I don't want to just jump in and say that well, all that got handled, or hey, let's go back and figure out what we got to do. But I really enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun with it. One thing that I was gonna say earlier that it basically said how it ties into the Lazarus pits is at one point it shows like the early men discovering these metals, and it shows one lady talk to a guy and says, "Hey, are you seeing this, Raish?" And Ra's al Ghul is there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was
some
really
good stuff.
really neat. Oh yeah, so they make it back to Earth. Like, they're coming in, and another little fun thing is like Hal has created like a jet and of course Batman's in the driver's seat, and you've got Flash and Cyborg behind him, and everyone's like, you're not really flying, right?
Yeah.
And Batman just ignores it because it's what Batman does. Basically, like, he, makes contact with Alfred, and Alfred's like, you need to get here now. You got to see this, like, ruh-roh. And basically, Challenger Mountain has just, like, plopped itself in the middle of Gotham.
Yeah.
But it hasn't, like, just dropped in or, like, raised up. It, like, has, like, pulled the earth apart and, like, risen. So it's just, like, it made space for itself.
Yeah.
So the League goes straight into it, working like they do together, which is pretty awesome. Superman's X-raying it before they even touch down. It's hollow. There's a door down here. Barry go. Barry's gone.
I say before Superman can say Barry already knows. Like, all right, like it's good to like recon here. So,
and he's already sending an image off to Cyborg, who's run it 1,000 times to see what it is. And it's, Justice League is the team, and you guys know we slant a little bias towards the DC universe, but Justice League is the pinnacle of teams in comic books, in my opinion. They're the best of the best of the best, and it's really cool when you do get to see them firing on all cylinders.
Oh yeah.
So, So Challenger Mountain, they go inside. They find a pod or a chamber with 5 people inside. We don't know who those 5 people are.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's supposed to just be implied that it's Challengers of the Unknown, because they have been gone since Challenger Mountain just... and for those that don't know, I'm not going to pretend to tell you who all the Challengers were, but they were basically the Fantastic Four of DC.
The best way I've heard it described is they were the Fantastic Four when they didn't get superpowers.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just think of, a group of people going into space and not setting on fire and stretching and stuff. But it's really cool because we see Red Tornado, which, last Red Tornado we had was actually Lois Lane's brain inside Red Tornado.
That was Earth 2, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Earth 2. So
that was
it's
a cool story. I really enjoyed
It
that.
I
really
loved
was.
Earth 2.
Yeah.
I haven't read any of Prime, but
Yeah, Earth 2 Prime was what came like after Convergence and stuff, wasn't it?
Oh, Society.
Oh,
Society,
yeah,
yeah,
sorry,
I'm sorry.
That was a good book too.
Yeah.
I like how they wrapped everything up. It was perfect.
They find it's Chasing Us Run in blood. Somebody had written. Or it could have been Ketchup. Let's not jump to conclusions here.
could have been Hot Dog Tuesday, and they were just like, oh God, ketchup, must write message.
Yes. And then the basically the Blackhawks show up, which is kind of cool that they're this like covert like special forces team now, where before they were just this kind of World War II era like fighter pilots and stuff. So it's kind of cool to have seen them like kind of evolve a little bit. And then the big reveal there is that Kendra Saunders is leading them. She's Lady Blackhawk, which was Hawk Girl, but has fallen away from Carter and given up her wings because didn't agree with him, and then realized he was right, and now basically it turns out that they know that Batman is the key to this, so take out Batman, stop whatever's coming.
Yeah.
But it's Batman, so come on.
Yeah.
Clearly that doesn't work.
As they're all talking, Batman's already like removed himself from the room, and
He's taken some nth metal and he's riding a dinosaur away because he's Batman. That's what he does. Oh, but it does show this cool little like montage of Carter Hall like working with people. There's Starman. You see the Metal Men. You see the Challengers of the Unknown again. I feel like the Challengers of the Unknown are going to be important to this.
Oh yeah,
Probably. Yeah.
The whole metal thing, the whole Dark Knights thing is gonna launch a new imprint of books, and Challengers of the Unknown is gonna be one. The Terrifics are gonna be one.
I'm very excited for the Terrifics.
Me too.
Yeah.
And there's a couple more, but I can't remember what they are.
Well, I know the Duke he's getting one.
Yeah.
Like
He's getting his own book.
yeah,
The Signal.
the Signal.
That's what he's called. I think that's
The
kind of
Signal.
cheesy, but
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if his only
Well, they've
power
kinda
is just
run
to
out of
be
birds
like,
and
got a
bats.
flashlight.
Yeah.
That's kind of a crappy power, but he doesn't need the power. He's trained by Batman.
They could have called him
Exactly.
the Blink.
Yep. The blink.
Or just blink and like ... Like make it initials, but never tell us what it stands for.
Yeah. Ooh,
Intriguing.
good idea. So basically, Kendra is explaining to the Justice League what she knows, what's going on, and basically you see a map of the multiverse, which is cool because it ties right back into Grant Morrison's Multiversity, because it's pretty much the exact same map. And you see the Source Wall, you see the Rock of Eternity, you see the Speed Force, like you see all these things, and within them you see the 52 Earths, and how some of them are still like question marked out. So there's still some that we have never seen,
Mm-hmm.
and so maybe someday we'll see what those are.
Ready.
Yes. And then we get the name of Barbados. And the dogs find that interesting. Barbados is one of the unsayable names or something that Lady Black Ops is talking about.
Isn't he another Grant Morrison creation?
Yes, that was from Final Crisis.
Okay.
Leading up to the return of Bruce Wayne. Barbados or Barbados or however they want to pronounce it was this big evil thing that they were trying to pull through time, because it was so confusing that I don't even know if that's what happened.
That's
All
why
I know is
I tend to avoid the Grant Morrison Batman stuff, even though
I don't like Grant Morrison.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. He is too trippy and confusing for me.
Mm.
So
he makes me feel dumb. Like reading a Grant Morrison, I'm like, I don't know what this word is.
well,
Like
he's
is
on
this a
drugs
word?
most of the time when he writes. He's openly admitted
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Well, if you've read his stuff, that openly admits it for you.
Yeah.
Because so Barbados, and then Wagon, which is the root of the name Wayne. So basically, you find out that Bruce is the human doorway to this dark multiverse, and whatever's coming, he is like the portal with which it will that will bring the five divine metals of the heroes that take their nightmares and make them real, or however it was pronounced. So basically, it's
Very
what we've
Grant Morrison.
seen. Yeah, what we've seen the preview work, and even on the cover of Metal, you're gonna have the evil Flash Batman, the evil Superman Batman, the evil Cyborg Batman.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you're gonna get evil versions of most of the Justice League, but Batman. And it's one of the pages is like, this started back thousands of years ago, after the final time of the crisis or something. So Grant Morrison, once again, Barbados, you see that when Darkseid hit Batman with the Omega beams, it didn't kill him, it sent him back in time, back to the dawn of man, and he had to fight his way back. So it kind of implies that that's where it started, and then the Barbados thing kind of came with all that. So then the biggest reveal, which I'm surprised hasn't been a bigger deal on the internet, but it may just be that I've kind of ignored it, is that we got Dream from Sandman.
Dream of the Endless.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
The guy at the very end?
Mhm.
Okay.
This
I had no idea who that was, and I was like, oh.
Sandman.
And then I
was a
saw
big deal.
his shoulder mantle piece or whatever, and I was like,
Yeah.
those seemed kind of like eyes, but they felt kind of like the court eyes or whatever. So I was like, I have no idea. You'll tell me who this is.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, the Journal of Carter Hall was in Batman's study,
Study.
the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yes, yeah. So basically at the end of it, the journal reveals itself, Batman grabs it, turns around, boom, he's standing there, and that's where we end. But I mean, this, Sandman was this incredibly popular,
Sandman was huge.
Vertigo imprint from way back in the day.
Mhm.
And to see this tying into it is incredibly surprising.
Yeah.
So, but
Did not see that coming.
what do you guys think of it? Because I have talked a whole bunch tonight, so I want to stop, and I want you guys to put in your 2 cents.
We'll start with the new guy.
Okay. I really like it because I think that this is the problem I didn't like with Scott Snyder's original Batman run, was that he plays with mythology, and I don't like what he did with the Joker, where he made it seem like he was some myth that has always existed, because in the in-game story there was pieces where he was in pictures from throughout time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like the idea that Joker was a guy who had just one bad day
Came
or
from
whatever.
nothing,
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting, but I'm totally going against everything I just said because I love how he's making like all of this seem like it's mythology basically, and he's just pulling from different pieces of the DC universe.
Yeah.
And I think that's fantastic. I can't wait to see where it goes. I love how they're pulling all these characters. It's not just a Batman themed story, which everyone seems to think.
Yeah.
But it's like an entire DC multiverse story.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see where it goes. I think it's fantastic.
Joseph.
So far I'm not a huge fan of the art. I'll be honest. I love Capullo and I love Scott Snyder and what those guys have done with. I said it at the top of this issue. They are the reason I started reading DC in the first place. But some of it didn't look right to me. Just it didn't hit the eye just right. But that's really my only complaint. It's really like pulling. It's in a way, it's almost a more in-house version of Kingdom Come, where like everything is involved, and if you've read, it's all referenced to past stories, and there's a lot of back catalog that you have to read to get through Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
But in this one, there's a lot that. If you've just read the Scott Snyder stuff, it's basically his grand finale to all his Batman stuff. So I'm really excited to see where it's gonna go. I like the idea that this is gonna be something that maybe Batman can't solve. Maybe he is just the key to a much greater in scale thing. But what could be bigger? And I mean, sometimes you got to reach for the stars, and they're like reaching behind the stars, So they're going this whole other crazy direction. So I'm excited for it. I don't know. It feels very like the way the books look, and the way the story's kind of told. It feels very 90s to me for some reason.
I agree. I think I got the same vibe.
Yeah. Like it feels like kind of a 90s story, and I prefer the stories that are really just boots on the ground, like. The only person in the world is Batman, the bad guy, and the city.
Yeah.
And I don't always like it when it's just this big enthralling thing where all these characters are involved. But the way, at the same time, kind of how he was saying, I'm gonna kind of dig into that myself, be hypocritical to my own point, is I like the way that they're tying in the Lantern Corps. Is like I don't. At first I was like, oh man, we're just gonna do a big event, but the way it's tying in and how like the Green Lantern ring isn't working properly around this stuff is like that kind of makes it like, well, what is it?
Yeah.
And then they even did it at the end of casting where Batman looked and he had no idea what he was looking at, and that really stood out to me because Batman, he looks at anything, he can tell you what it is, where it came from, what it's made of. Like, and if he doesn't know, he'll be like, oh, I've been researching that for a while. But he looked into the abyss and he was like, but I did. It was the first time I had ever seen Batman go, I don't understand. I did everything right.
Yeah.
And if Batman's saying I did everything right, you can take that to the bank.
Yeah.
Then he did everything right. And that to me says this is the very first time that Bruce Wayne's experiments didn't turn out well. That they didn't give him the answer that he already knew was there.
Yeah.
So it made it seem like this is an enemy that he can't even plan for. So I really like that. I feel like the Joker is trying to be a little bit more important than he is, or is he? So it's all just intriguing. So it's all just kind of plays against itself.
Yeah.
In a cool way. So I'm excited.
Good. Mike?
I'm pretty pleased with it. The only thing that I haven't liked about it, and then again, it turned out to be a very badass piece, was the very beginning of the metal where they were all just there and there was no explanation of like, what did we do to get here and everything like that. And that's always kind of what's deterred me away from comics and stuff like that, is picking up one issue and then going, well, shit, like I need to go back and like I need to read issue 1 of this and then go to like issue 15 of this, and they kind of make marks in that in the books that we've been reading for Rebirth of like, oh, with, I think it was in the metal or whatever, when at the very beginning when they were fighting, and it was Cyborg that made a dig at Aquaman or whatever. It was like, man, we could use your hook arm right now, and then it was like, look at the 90s,
See
or
the
like
90s,
reference
yeah.
90s and everything,
Yeah.
and I was like, I kind of like, I get that, but
I get that reference.
yeah, all of the little Easter eggs that I didn't catch on to right away, like Plastic Man and stuff like that, and the Machine from the multiverse and everything like that, like, because I didn't read those stories, but this has made me as happy as reading the Button, where I saw a bunch of those Easter eggs and stuff like that in the Button. I was like, oh, that's that, and that's that, and then we, there's so much more to it
The
than
Batman and Flash, the Button?
yeah.
Okay.
There's so much more to it than just the evil Batman and stuff like that they're going to fight. Like, there's obviously, like, they're pulling from these other stories that give it so much more depth into it than just your average, like, oh, there's another supervillain thing here. They came from the darkness and stuff like that. Like, we have to fight him now and everything. And then with the multiverse map and everything like that, whenever they were like, there are some things that we still don't know out here, but this is the map. Like, we know that this is all there is, but now there's a dark side, and then they just flipped it over and they're like, there's this emptiness here. Like,
Yeah.
what's here? Like, this is what's going on and everything. So I'm very pleased with it. It sucks that it is a monthly thing instead of a bi-weekly thing, like
Yeah.
the rest of DC's stuff. And I know you've kind of made a jab about that before whenever the Button got pushed back by like a week, and I was like, no, and you were just like, oh, you've been through
Oh,
nothing.
you
You have
sweet
been through
summer
nothing.
child. Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see where it goes and everything. So
I'm excited to watch you guys go through the monthly wait on an event book like this. Like, it only being a month is awesome. It's when we get these solicitations and they're like, hey, issue 6 has been pushed back 2 months, that's when it'll get sad, because that happens a lot more than you want to
with the Justice League Power Rangers crossover, that feel like that's been pushed back a couple times, but it's a great story, but because we have the metal and all these other things, that it doesn't bother me as much. That, like, whenever I pick up my comics on Wednesdays, I'm like, oh, hey, this issue's finally out. Sweet, I get to continue the story. But I'm so into Batman and Nightwing and Justice League that it's kind of just a side piece that I like to read from time to time. So
Yeah.
The wait shouldn't feel too long because you've got all the tie-ins in between.
Yeah.
You've got all the evil Batman characters, and then you've got like Teen Titans, Green Arrow, Nightwing. They're all teaming up to do something.
Yeah.
Suicide Squad's gonna
Yeah.
have one. And that's
I meant to talk to you about that. Like, it was like, whatever, like, cross-up comes up, just, like, set that aside.
yeah. I'm just gonna hand you the list and be like, want. Look, I'm excited. I feel like this is a new take on the Crisis event that DC does, and you guys kind of hit on it earlier. This isn't just about evil versions of Batman. It's not just like, this isn't just about a evil Batman that has Flash's powers. That's going to be really cool, but I feel like this goes so much deeper. And Cody, you're right. This is Batman doing everything he can to find out the answer and not finding out the answer.
Yeah.
Like, he is,
And he actually didn't find out the answer.
yeah, like, he has sent people to other Earths. He's got covert teams. He's doing everything he can think to do, and it's kind of a humanizing thing that he's being real upfront with everybody. He's like, I'm not telling you because I'm Batman. That's what I do. I'm not telling you because I don't know.
Yeah.
And I promise you, as soon as I know what's going on, I will let you guys know, because I'm going to need your help here. This isn't I'm Batman, I can do it on my own. It's,
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. It's
I'm just hoping there's something in a future book where they ask Batman what's going, like maybe Barry asks Batman what's going on, and he says, okay, so after you've studied everything, what is going on? And Batman says, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And Barry just says, wait, you have no idea? You have no idea?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, Barry, I don't know.
that's when you
It was
get the
kind of
world's
like that in the Button.
big
Like,
trouble.
I
Yeah.
mean, he didn't have answers, but I mean, he, like, when Barry came, he was like, I've run all these tests, like, there's nothing here. But as soon as your buddy came in here and touched it, like, it freaked out and everything. So I have,
He's going to have to call Occam's razor at some point and be like, okay, I'm making this a little bit more complicated. Like, of all people, Batman should know that when you stare into the darkness stares back at you. So I'm sure he'll figure it out.
He will, and I think the ride's going to be fun to get there. But yeah, I'm super excited to see where it goes. love that it's introducing so many characters that we haven't seen in quite a while. That we're seeing Mr. Terrific, that we're seeing the Challengers, Red Tornado, Plastic Man, even the Hawks, and the Hawkman, Hawk Girl, Black Hawks. It's super exciting. Like I'm ready to have a DC back that encompasses just all these characters.
Yeah.
I can't wait for there to be a JSA comic again that has Ted and Jay and Alan. Like that's very exciting for me. But so what did you guys think about Metal? What do you think is going to happen? What are your predictions for the future? How does this end? How does this play out? What do we see? So give us a like, give us a share, give us a subscribe, give us some comments, give us your firstborn, all that jazz.
Hope you guys enjoyed seeing our faces.
Yes.
At one point, you'll get to see August and Matt, the two men themselves.
Yeah.
Never gonna happen.
Did we
That
actually
other
have anybody
video
watch?
Says the voice off the camera.
I think we picked up one person at one point.
Yay! And they were like, and I'm done with this. So, whatever.
Hope you're
So-
still there, one person.
They were
We
just
love
like,
you.
they don't know what they're talking about.
No, they're dumb. So, so Cash, thank you for joining us. This
It was
a lot of
actually
fun.
Greg Capullo. He just walked in. He was like,
He,
nope, these
he
guys
heard
are
Cody be
idiots."
like, I didn't really care for the art.
Yeah.
And he's like, F these guys.
He's like, this ain't funny. This ain't funny at all. No one's throwing a pie.
I see what you did there.
Because Greg Capullo, he talks funny. But he likes Slipknot, so he is metal.
Hey, there you go. So, Cash, any parting words of wisdom for us? Anything you want us to know about you? Anything you wanna throw out there for the room, for the class, for the interwebs?
My real name's Josh.
I don't know why they keep calling me Cash.
Cause we money, baby.
Oh,
Because you money, baby.
August has been sitting on that one all night, just waiting.
Not really. I'd just like to say thank you guys for having me on. It was so
Thank you for
cool.
being on. I might let you talk more next time.
This was my first podcast, so I was kind of nervous, so I was hesitant to talk, but I will talk more next time you guys have me
did
on.
very well. So, Cody, Mike, you guys got any parting words? Any final decrees, thoughts?
Damned if you do, damned if you don't. There you go.
I'm still reading I'm still reading, catching up on Rebirth. We're gonna do some more episodes. We've been talking about Rebirth. We got some new shows coming out. We got some new stuff that are gonna be coming out. I believe officially they're gonna be called the Court of Cowls Bites. We're gonna have several shows with a little 10-minute bites where we're just having all this cool stuff go on where we talk about what we want. You can join me over at Codebreaker. You can join Mike over at the Mighty Mike Drop. You can join Chris over at the Chris Chronicles.
What?
You can join August. What did we call your show?
Undecided
the
right
Wizard
now,
of
but
Og.
it is currently
Wizard of
titled
Og.
The
Wizard,
Wizard
of
of
Og.
Og. Yes.
That is subtle to change.
And you can join Matt on his show at Beyond the Mat. And if you guys like football, Chris and Mike on one of the
Matt.
very first,
Chris and
whatever,
Sweet, yeah.
Chris and
No,
Matt.
I certainly
on
did. I
their very
remember that
first-
episode.
On the very first Chris Chronicles, you get to hear them talk about the fantasy footballs and find out if Wayne Gretzky got any field goals. So
Foosball's the
Three.
devil.
He got 3.
he got 3.
Yep.
He hit 3 foosballs out of there.
Yeah.
But we got those. We got some video game reviews. We got some new openings coming out. And one of the big ones we're going to be doing soon is for Destiny 2. I'm not going to do it. I'm just saying Destiny 2.
Destiny 2.
It's going to be awesome.
It is going to be pretty fantastic.
So stay tuned. Thanks for... Oh, and we're going to be doing some video game streaming. We might do some of that later tonight, actually. So
Booyah.
Maybe to write out this storm.
Yeah,
that just popped
'cause-
up.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because a storm is brewing outside. Thor got
Not
mad.
in my tummy.
Yeah, I know. Mike got through a whole episode without being flatulent, and it's wonderful.
It's so
To
nice.
be fair, this room, like, the air does not circulate, so
Yeah.
when it does happen,
It's pretty bad. Well, there are 5 grown men in a room with 2 hot lights and no ceiling fan.
Mhm.
So
So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys for coming to our corner of the world. I hope you guys like our look here. I can't promise all of them are going to be video, but we will always bring you what we got right to your doorstep. So I am Cody.
Oh God! You released it. I'm Mike.
Chris.
Cash.
And
And no, August is here too,
Somewhere.
and court is adjourned.
keep the red phone